welcome to the WCS Korea Challenger League. We are in the final round here of Code A to find out who's going into Code S.
Yeah, today we have a couple of really exciting games for you guys. So every player that wins in today's groups will be advancing to Code S to the next season immediately, and the rest of them will find themselves in the up and downs.
Yeah, and this is, the most pivotal moment. This is what everybody's been waiting for. Some of these players fell out of Code S. They want to get right back in there. They don't want to go through those up and downs. Some players are getting here for the first time, and they might have their shot of going straight into Code S.
Exactly. Especially our later group, our afternoon session is going to be really exciting. We have matches like Marine King Up versus Life, and of course Avenge, who has defeated quite a few people on his way into the third round, is up against Flash of all people.
That's going to be insane. Avenge taking out some really strong Terrans, but can he handle Flash? A lot of hype surrounding that character, of course.
Yep.
And, hype is, sometimes you have to decide, does he live up to the hype or not? And in his Code S group, he did not actually advance. He looked a little bit weaker, but, maybe he can get straight back into it.
It was a sick group on the other hand. I mean, Flash played really well in Group B, but there were so many good players in there. Now he finds himself in the third round of Code A. The same is true for Life, but Flash has a tough opponent, a newcomer up against him. Flash, of course, still being the favorite in the series, but Avenge did well, not only in Code A, but also in the GSTL. So a couple of really, really good matches coming your way. But in our early session, we have 3 games, and they are also really exciting. Starting things off with a match between Flying and Crazy, another Protoss versus Zerg.
Yeah, Flying playing a lot of Protoss versus Zerg, actually, in his Code S group, but not able to get out of it. You can see how our race distribution here is pretty even. It's about as even as you can get.
And just look at the names of the players here. We have Gumiho, Supernova, Byan, Flash, Marine King, Byung, and Yoda turning up in the third round of Code A. And on the other hand, Zerg players here with names like Effort, Ragnarok, Haiva, Su, Lenok, Alive, Shine, and Crazy.
Yeah,
and the Protoss lineup, of course, also really strong.
And this only, if you add up those two, there's 3 numbers, you end up with 22 players instead of 24. There are, a few spots given up, and there's another tournament as well going on right now, hosted by ESF, that will decide who else gets the Code S spots. But enough about that. Let's talk about the players we got today. We talked already about Crazy versus Flying is our starting match, but we have Haiba versus Yoda is second, and last but not least, Creator versus Supernova.
Yeah, and the ESF tournament, of course, not determining the Code S spots, but the up and down spots that we have for the, as soon as the season ends here, to see if the players can get another shot of getting into Code S right away. But as you can see here, our first match is going to be the Zerg versus Protoss. We have Crazy for KT Rolls and for the Wunjing Stars. Flying, very tough players here, and Flying has shown several times that especially against Zerg, he always has a strategy up his sleeves.
Yeah, he definitely is a really tricky player. He can be a little bit crazy, confusing at times. Both these players did fall from Code S to get into Code A, so they're not starting players. They're not coming out of the qualifiers or anything like that.
Flying is known for his very crisp timings, for really good strategies. He has shown a couple of really interesting plays back in Wings of Liberty at the end against players like Stefano, but of course also here in Heart of the Swarm. He's been showing a great play. Crazy, on the other hand, a Zerg player who is definitely known, but on the other hand, I have to say that Flying, even with this run that he had now in Code S, going through the first round and then losing in the second group stage, is definitely the favorite player, at least for me in this series.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Flying definitely is such an unpredictable star. It's hard to prepare for somebody like Flying because you never really know exactly what he's going to do on these maps.
Yeah. Both players 22 years old, and we have the first best of 3 today, determining who's going up to Code S, who will be in Code S the next season. It's either going to be Crazy or Flying here, both really strong players, and they are ready for game number 1 on Belcher Vestige.
Yep, the map is loading as we speak. This is a really balanced and fair map. Fairly easy for a Protoss to take a third if the Protoss wants to. Same could be said of a Zerg taking a fourth.
Also one of the maps that Flying back then played against Stefano, where he won against his opponent, starting with the Stargate here. Things have changed, of course, a little bit, but Flying is still a heavy hitter. Going into the first match here, the best of 3 at the GSL Code A, the Challenger League Korea, brought to you by Colorful. And starting to the bottom right of the map of Belcher Vestige, we have the Zerg player. Went all the way through the first, second, and now in the third round of Code A. It is
KT roster Crazy.
The thing about Crazy is that he's a really strong ZVZ player. He defeated S2 in the first round of Code A, he defeated Golden in the second round, and even his first professional televised match in Starcraft 2 was against Jaedong, where he won, but now he's up against a Protoss player.
Yeah, and having to shift gears a little bit here. I like the player at the top left here as a pylon in the main. He is
Wongjin starts flying.
I like that he has the pile in his main, is what I want to talk about. I don't want to forget to introduce him, of course, though.
Yeah, Flying definitely a player who has shown a very, variation of crisp timing. We talked about that a little bit, but with the pile in the main base, he's going into the gateway first now. Not starting here with a Forge expand.
Yeah, Gateway first here, going to give him a lot of different options, and of course this is going to make Crazy have to play a different game. He can't take that risky third that you would see Zerg players do oftentimes. He's going to send 2 drones down here just to make sure that he can get that base up.
And if you look at Flying's match history, you will of course notice that in the first round of Koreas he did quite well. He was able to take down a lot of his opponents. He advanced together with Yoda against opponents like DRG. And then in the second group stage he fell short, but only by a small margin. He took down Roro with a 2-0, which was really incredible. Roro of course being the Code S champion here, but then later on he lost against Solki, and in the second series against Roro he could not defeat the player in best of 3. So now he finds himself up against another Zerg player. We're gonna find out what kind of strategy comes out of Flying today.
You know, I'm feeling we're going to see some airplay out of him, at the very least one of these games in the series. We could see an aggressive gateway attack from him off of 2 bases, though, with the opening he's chosen with the gateway here, because he's one of those players who really likes to be aggressive. He's not normally one to just take a fast third, for example.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He's an aggressive player, trying to rely on timings and on his aggressive playstyle. On a map like Velche Vestige, he's shown in the past that he really likes to open up with a Stargate, but that's usually the case when he goes into the first the Forge expand build. In this particular scenario, we have him now going straight into the Nexus of 1 gate, which is fairly common now. If you get the Mothership Core out there, you can rely on the Photon Overcharge and your gateway units to hold against an aggressive Zerg style.
Yep, and there's the Mothership Core. Goes for the Mothership Core after Nexus. Sometimes you see players get it first. It's just kind of a stylistic choice. If you get it first, obviously you delay your Nexus a little bit. If you get it later, then your energy's not going to be as good. I think personally, I like the Nexus first, though.
Yeah. One of the things that you can also see now from his opponent, from the Keltiorza player, is that so far we don't have an expand. He took the gas early because he saw that there's no Forge expand. So immediately he looks at the game and is like, okay, well, you're opening up with the gateway, and if you go for a gateway strategy, I need to get my gas a little bit earlier. So we have him going straight into speed, and the expansion is a little bit delayed, which is the reaction that you see out of most Zerg players these days as soon as they spot they're not up against the Forge expansion.
Yeah, and he's just now getting a glimpse of everything that's happening. This is the first chance he gets to see, and will he use a force field? No, he doesn't have to. That was close.
Did not get into the main base, and he knows by the timing of the Nexus that there so far is only 1 gateway. Gateway number 2 and number 3 are being built now by Flying, but this also tells Crazy that there is no 3-gate aggression before expand, so he knows all the timings. He sees the Nexus finish, he sees the wall at the front. He will take his 3rd base eventually, but it's very delayed at this point, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a safer way to play it. When a cross player gets his Nexus up a little bit later as well as a result of his gateways, he has to be more aggressive, but because his Nexus is later, you don't feel that need to get the 3rd base just as quickly. He goes for a very fast lair here just before the 6-minute mark.
This is something that we see a lot more often these days, and I really like it. The fast lair is just a result of Zergs realizing they can't expand this aggressively against opening with a gateway, because there are all these timings with 3 gateways that are very dangerous. And Flying, I mean, he's trying to put this pylon down, and Crazy sees it, so he will be really happy about his decision to not go for the 3rd base, but instead go for the faster lair.
Yeah, and we're actually watching Flying walk 3 sentries across the map. It looks like he's going to go back and protect them a little bit more, but he's got a group of 6 sentries all by themselves moving across the map right now. The Mothership Core is trying to spot those links. He wants to know, can I save that pylon with a warp in? And it looks like he definitely will.
He should be able to save it, but one thing that we have to keep in mind is that Crazy so far really has Flying's number. The guy is already setting up his spine crawler defense, and might even get the pylon. Not quite, but that was really close.
Yeah, you could see he was trying to micro around, dance around, and get the last hits on. With the few links he's sitting out right now, if he can avoid this army, he will be able to kill that pylon, and the pylon is also very far away.
No Roach Warren here, on the other hand. Of course, with the Zerglings, he can do quite a bit, especially since there's no attack upgrade for the Protoss player. But we have now the Infestation bit coming up, so he wants to go into Swarm Host. Really good strategy against what he's facing here. Will help him quite a bit, but first of all, he has to defend against what Flying has on the map. But that should not be a problem for him with all those spine crawlers.
Exactly, and with the pylon being gone, he just doesn't have that power anymore to reinforce. And he's not even going to use a recall. He's just going to safely go home here. And if he ends up seeing the Zerglings, he'll try to kill them, of course. Double Forge going up back at home, so he's going to go heavy into the upgrades.
That's Flying saying, okay, well, my timing here doesn't work against you. You are ready. You didn't get a third base. You spine crawled up, so you completely know what I'm doing here. I have to fall back into a macro game. Therefore, the Double Forge, trying to just draw it out a little bit, get those double upgrades. But Crazy, on the other hand, really has a bit of an edge here in this situation. I
could not agree more, because we had in total 8 sentries made that were definitely going to be used aggressively. This delayed his tech so much that we're going to have the first Swarmhouse up before the robotics is even done, and then he's going to have to go into robotics 4-bay very, very quickly. But the timing here is much better for Crazy. He has the tech advantage by far. Yeah. Crazy saw how many sentries there were on the map. He had an Overlord in his opponent's face, so he knows that in terms of tech, he is far ahead of his opponent. He goes now into the Spire as an addition to the Infestation Pit and the Swarmhouse transition that we have for him, and also the third base. And he also saw that there was a move out to the top right, so that Flying was aiming for getting a third base as well. So there's not going to be like a timing with 2 Colossi and 2 Immortals. So Crazy in a great position when he comes down to information. Yeah, and he's about to see the Double Forge as well as Overseer flies over the natural as these Swarmhosts move into position here. And it's only a few Swarmhosts, yeah, but even a few Swarmhosts can really start to add up. They can really add up, but I would really like him to get a few more. When you only rely on 3 Swarmhosts, you cannot do too much. The question still remains if he wants to transition maybe even into Mutalisks. Yeah, you know, he does let the upgrade for the Locust finish, but he only makes these 3, and he shows them purposely. You know, he wants him to think, hey, I'm going Swarmhouse. Maybe he's going to switch to Mutas here. Exactly, that's the thing. Usually you get your Spire, and then you can go into Corruptors as an addition to them to snipe Observers, to snipe everything that's in the air, and even take down a few of those Colossi, if that's the answer of the Protoss player. But with what he did right now, this looks a little bit more like mind games. And the Phoenix, though, does see the Spire in the main base, but he may think, you know, this is just for the normal Corruptor transition that we were talking about. Exactly. The Spire itself doesn't really tell him. He saw the Swarm hosts already, and the Spire is something that he can use, but he's going into additional Swarm hosts. So it looks like Crazy saw the hallucination of the Phoenix and was like, well, he saw the Spire. It's a little bit too risky right now. Let's just rely on the Swarm hosts for now, and then we'll see. Yeah. This is a very flexible build, what Crazy has done. I really, really like this. And now he's adding the Swarm hosts, as you said, and getting those double upgrades. The Swarm hosts are not going to have the upgrade advantage with those Locusts, remember. You know, this is a safer choice. He could have tried to go into a Mutalisk transition. He could have tried to make that happen. He had roughly 800 gas at the time, but this is definitely the safer option that he's going for here. Sometimes when you play Zerg, you are tempted to go into this tech switch and try to just blindside your opponent. But what Flying did the entire game was go so much with those hallucinations. So I really like that Crazy is not gambling. Yeah. He's just doing the safer thing here, making 10 Corruptors now. And we'll probably see a Hive come up fairly soon here as he continues his upgrades. One thing to note that's really, really important is Flying is massively ahead in upgrades, and with Chrono Boost, that's just going to get better and better for him, especially with no Hive. He's going to have 3-3 way ahead of his opponent. Yeah, I'm really a little bit surprised that he doesn't get more Swarm Hosts, by the way. 6 Swarm Hosts in total. Doesn't... here we go. Okay, now he's getting the additional Swarm Hosts, because you definitely want to have more than 6. You want to be up at 10 to 12. Yeah, definitely so. You know, once you hit around 10, that's when the Protoss really starts to struggle with dealing them, and that's when you want to make sure you have the Colossi out. You're going to think about switching into Storm. With these gateways going down instead of a Templar Archives, we could definitely see a 3-base timing coming out from Flying. 4th base now going down for Crazy, and the Zerg player is adding more and more Swarm Hosts now. He's also adding a couple of Queens, so in this position that he currently has, he will be able to do quite a bit against the move out of Flying. What Flying wants here is to have something that does area of effect damage. The Colossi are really good with their range, but with this many Corruptors already in the game, it's going to be difficult for Flying to get a grip on all those Swarm Hosts. This is really interesting. He sends 2 hallucinated Stalkers to the left, and this is going to give him some information that he's going to actually probably might even distract him. Look at the creep spread that we see for Crazy. This is really good. We're at the 14-minute mark, and he controls the entire left side of the map. He spread his creep up to the middle already, so a really good creep spread here in the Zerg versus Protoss for the KT Rolls. Yeah. This is excellent. We're seeing more and more Zergs start to do that creep spread in this matchup these days, especially the Kespa Zergs I've been noticing are really getting into that. It's really interesting to see how Crazy is playing this. Very, very solid, and Flying knows it. Flying is very, very reluctant to engage because he knows that there's quite a lot against him. More and more Swarm Hosts coming up. Hive Tech is going in, so we will see a few Vipers. He's trying to get in there and hit those Colossi, but the Stalker control is really nice here. Fake Colossus over there to draw the Corruptors. He actually gets some good shots off. Yeah.
the fake Colossus, baiting those Corruptors for just a second. But you can really see that there's not a lot that Crazy is, or that Flying is really doing. He can't really move out. He's not accomplishing anything with this. And the only thing that Crazy has to do is buy himself the time to get this better economy up, get the 4th base saturated. Even the warping to the left side of the map has been seen with all those creep tumors being around.
Yeah, he's definitely seeing this, and he's already sending Lings in position to intercept. That's a lot of Zealots, though, and they do have the better upgrades, but with the Spines and the additional Spines he's adding right now, this should not do very much damage at all.
Crazy's really impressing me with this safe play. He has Spine Crawlers in all the positions where he has to have them. He has the creep spread that is very good and very thick as well. And this position for him is a good one. He's going up to 2-2. Flying still a little bit in the lead with the 3-3 upgrades that he already started, but now we could even see the Vipers that we talked about earlier, not only for the Abduct, but also the Blinding Cloud against the Stalkers.
Yeah, Blinding Cloud is a great ability, and we don't see it all too often in this matchup because usually players focus on the Abduct, but when the Colossi are gone, you know, Blinding Cloud can be quite great. Greater Spire is going down. He's starting a General Glance. He'll be able to start 3-3 immediately as well as his 2-2 finishes.
You know, denying the space to the left side of the map was a good move too, and he cannot even pre-block the expansion. But now we have Great Flying moving in, and Crazy trying to take down that wall at the front of his opponent's natural, but he has to deal with a big army that comes to his main base.
Oh my god, and those Corruptors very much out of position. He tries to hit the Colossus, does not get very many good hits, does take out one Colossus.
Yeah, he has to buy himself a little bit of time here. He needs to get those Swarmos into a good position. More and more Zerglings trying to take down that wall. Once he's through, he cannot only take down the natural, but goes straight into the main.
Yeah, this is really, really important for Flying to hold. He cannot let those Lings into his main base. He needs more sentries. Warps and Stalkers instead. One Colossus will pop out here. No, those are Observers, in fact.
We even have 2 Swarmos over here, but at the bottom left, we have the main battle going on with all those Corruptors trying to take down the Colossi, but the Corruptors are being picked off one by one with all those Stalkers being around.
Yeah, I think that was a much better trade for Flying there. He lost some Colossi, but with the good force fields putting the Locust back, he was able to snipe many more Corruptors and got the better trade efficiently, but the 3-3 upgrades were not done yet for Flying. I think that was a mistake to try to engage before that.
Flying trying to jump in, but he's blinking right into all those Zerglings chasing down the Stalkers, and both of the Swarm hosts are still alive, spawning the Locusts, doing damage to the Zealots.
Yeah, and it looks like he will be able to finally clean this up. Mothership even using that Photon Overcharge, but here come the rest of the Lings. The rest of the army is almost here.
The Zerglings moving in, but Flying has been forced to retreat with his army. And he also moved all of his Observers back. Because he didn't have detection earlier, he pulled all of them back, and now he doesn't have a good look on the map anymore. He even loses one of those Colossi. The unit control for Flying is definitely off in this situation.
Yeah, definitely so. He needs to be controlling this a lot more. The Colossus moves back, but now it's not doing the damage it needs to. I just watched the Sentry kill a Corruptor. That was kind of weird, but Flying, he's trying to push through. If he can deal with the Swarm host, that's his biggest problem because, yeah, he lost his Colossi.
And he's losing sentries now. He's losing sentries for the Guardian Shield and also for the Force Fields. Still the Swarm hosts trying to move back. One of them being trapped and now going to die. He actually escapes.
Nope. Oh! Wow, 9 hit points left on that Swarm host. Gets into the ground.
I really like how Crazy controls the Swarm hosts here. He always knows when to back off. And another Colossus is gone, and without the Colossi, those Stalkers will not be able to do anything against all those Locusts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of corruptions going down on these Stalkers as well. The Lings doing some good damage, and Flying, once he loses those Colossi, the backbone of his army, just everything falls apart, losing his Observers as well.
Exactly, he loses the Observers, he has no detection anymore, and without area of effect damage, he can't deal with the Locusts. You need Storm or Colossi behind your army if you want to deal with the Locusts.
You can see Flying is really just struggling to figure out how to engage here. Loses the space, has to cancel.
Bottom left, on the other hand, another run-by attempt here. We have a lot of Zerglings trying to deal with that. At the bottom left now, the Zealots moving to town, while at the top right, the Zerg player is still trying to take down the space.
Yeah, and those Zealots, as you mentioned, there they are. The Spine Crawlers were moved earlier, so he's definitely going to take some hits here, but I think he should be able to clean this up eventually. He's going to have to cancel this base on the left, but with no Colossi left on the map during that fight, he was really able to dismantle the Protoss army, and he should be able to do it again.
The important thing is that the base at the bottom left is still fine. He's not going to lose this. More and more Zealots are moving in, but he needs to send a few units in. He has to realize that I think he just wants to end it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, he's just willing to give up this base, which may, in hindsight, be a problem if he can't end the game right now with his Brood Lords.
He could have saved it. You know, he had those Spine Crawlers in there that definitely dealt with the first wave of Zealots. but then he didn't send anything in, so now he's losing the base and he's actually retreating. So he should have built a few more units to send over to the bottom left to hold that base if he doesn't want to end it with that attack.
Yeah, you know, he's only using lings to fight off these run-bys. He needed more spines in position, and when you have 3-3 zealots against 2-2 lings and this many zealots, obviously it's not going to be a good trade for the Zerg player, and eventually he's going to have to turn around.
You know, this is actually a situation right now where Crazy has put himself in a really bad spot. Flying has a very good Colossi count now, and he also has, once again, the momentum in his favor with a base gone at the bottom left.
Yeah, and he finally takes out that pylon. You guys didn't see it on screen, you saw the lings find it, but killing that pylon is one of the most important things for Crazy right now, because that was where all these zealots are coming from.
There are no Corruptors, there are only Broodlords at this point. Crazy, he morphed all of them. And the Zerglings running in. Oh, the High Templar is not ready. This is bad, but he needs to do something against this army. He needs to have the Swarmhost in position and also the Broodlords.
Exactly, you know, all that dealing with these Zerglings is going to take us a few Zealot Warpits, but dealing with this huge Stalker, Colossus, Archon army is going to be the big problem. He needs to make sure he can deal with that and support his Corruptors with something, and maybe that's going to be Lings.
Flying's run-bys are doing so much damage, but the same is true for Crazy, who once again has Zerglings up at his opponent's natural. The third base on the right side of the map is gone now for the Zerg though. Flying moving in and sniping it and immediately retreating. He knows that he can't deal with Crazy's army at this point,
yeah,
but he just wants to buy himself some time to get a bigger force up.
He kills the Greer Spire, which is really huge. It also stopped +3 from completing, but he lost a lot of his production. He lost his robotics, and the Fleet Beacon is coming, but the run-bys are doing a ton.
Yeah, he's everywhere. I mean, he took down the base at the bottom left. Flying kind of taking out and Crazy donating it to him, but now it's really getting out of hand with the Zealots not only taking down the Greater Spire, but also taking down 2 of the Queens.
Yeah, there's just 4 Zealots here doing so much. The Locust on a poor rally here, not able to hit that Nexus, and now the next wave of Locust will arrive, but the Nexus should be able to finish. Fleet Beacon is done, and he's going to start his very first Tempest here. He's only got 1 Stargate, so it's going to take a long time before he gets that Tempest count up, but the Zealots have really done a number on the economy of Crazy. You can see he has no minerals right now. He's basically got no income.
Exactly. This is such a cool game. It's insane. I mean, Crazy had such a good hold on the game, even the Spine Cross at the bottom left, but then he didn't react properly. He saw the Zealots walk across the creep, and he was like, well, it's just another run-by. You're not going to commit to this too heavily. And with the second round of warp-ins, Flying was in a position where he took down the base. This is just both of them going for the dirty blows here. I mean,
yeah, you're absolutely right. This is such a game of economy versus army right now. Crazy has to use his army to secure his base. His Flying has to rebuild his army and hold on to his bases. And, you know, he's holding on pretty well here, but the Broodlords are coming in now, and they're going to try to come from the right side where they get a good angle where the Stalkers can't blink under them.
If that was a boxing match, the referee would definitely give out warnings for blows below the belt, because both of them are really hitting hard with those run-bys, trying to be sneaky, and always hitting where it counts. That's the most important part. I love Flying snipes in this game, and Crazy is trying to build his army up, but Flying has actually the momentum going for him now with 160 supplies, still 1,000 minerals, the gas as well, and once his Tempest count is up, it's going to be very difficult for Crazy to deal with this. Yeah. He has to do damage before that happens.
You're absolutely right. He needs to do something with his Broodlords and his Locusts right now, and he's forcing mining time to be lost over and over again. This time he targets the Nexus's hit points down just a little bit, but the Broodlords, they can't stick around too long with those Tempests coming over now.
I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't move. Now he moves the Swarmhosts forward, finally, because as you could see, the Locusts would always arrive at the Nexus when they were just out of time. So now he's moving them forward just a tiny little bit, and that's already enough to put pressure on the Nexus. This wave of Locusts will be able to do damage.
Yeah, as you saw, you know, taking a few of those shields out already, and now this wave is going to be the one that could really damage it if he doesn't react to this Colossi, and he does. Yeah.
But Flying, this time he's in position. So a bit of an oversight by Crazy. He could have done more damage when Flying's army was not in position. And let's also talk about the base that went down at the bottom left. We saw it on screen, we didn't really talk about it. The Zealot run-bys by Flying once again hitting where it counts. This hurts Crazy a lot.
Yeah, and he also cleared up most of the creep on the left side of the map, which was allowing the Zerg army to move a little bit more freely on the west, but now he's lost a lot of that creep, so he doesn't have that freedom. Obviously, the main focus of this game has been on the right side at this Nexus, but every single run-by that kills that hatchery is so painful for Crazy, and he's now getting it maybe up this time. He restarts his Spire as well.
The position for Crazy with his base to the center right is a good one, because now from the safety of his base he can send the Locusts en route and pressure the base of Flying. But his big problem is that Flying is still on 4 bases, whereas he only has 3, and 2 of those are not even mining anymore. So that's a very peculiar situation for the Zerg player. He needs to do something. He cannot wait.
Oh, look at that. An excellent feedback on the Tempest Tempest targeting down those Vipers. Oh, another feedback goes down. Boom, goodbye Viper, and Crazy struggling to do something with these Vipers right now.
Yeah, Flying has the control of the game now. He knows the time is working in his favor. He has the bank that he needs.
And look at that, there's an Oracle on the production tab, and he keeps getting his Observer snipe. No question in my mind that Oracle is going to be for Revelation so he can constantly spot for the Tempest.
Crazy is running a little bit out of time. You can really see how the bank is developing here, and a much better income for the Protoss player from the Moon King Stars. And he is doing so well, even catching those Swarm Hosts. There is no way he can hold those. He doesn't even realize it. Way too late. There's an Observer too, exactly.
Oh, this is terrible, and the Warpins will definitely finish these off. He tries to put some Locusts out, but it looks like maybe just a few will escape with these Zerglings coming in too, but...
And here we have the move in. Flying is moving in. He knows this is his time. He's doing the damage. Here come the Storms. They're everywhere. The High Templars on the move.
But the
Corruptors are trying to take down at least the Colossi for now.
And those Bungles did a number on the Stalkers as well as that Blinding Cloud, and he's able to actually push this back with the Broodlords.
He's pushing this back, but at what cost? He does not have the bank that Flying has. Flying does not have to trade cost efficiently here. He lost the battle, but the war is still going in his favor. He just invested 1,000 minerals and nearly 1,000 gas, and he has still the better bank.
Yeah, and he's just making more and more Tempest, more Colossi coming out. Not even making gateway units yet. The good bungle hits once more, so the Corruptors, or rather the Broodlords, can pick off some of these Stalkers, but he loses the hatchery.
Exactly, that was what Flying was aiming for the entire time. He knows that moving up onto the high ground at the choke point would definitely cost him a lot of units, but with the bank that he had and all the production facilities behind that, he could afford it, and he did. He's behind in supply, but he still has the better income here, and he took down this important base to the right.
And this allows him to build, again, the better composition. And, you know, the base of the bottom left, though, did get up. So, yes, he lost one base, but not only did he get the base of the bottom left back up, but he has even an additional base over at the 9 o'clock that is mining, that I don't think Flying realizes is there yet because he lost all of his observers on that side of the map.
Yeah, but look what he's building now. He's actually going for a much better unit composition than he had earlier in the game. But Crazy realized that this is the time ahead. It's now or never for him. He has to move in and do damage now. If he doesn't do it, then his opponent will just overrun him. And he has a good chance of taking down at least this base and even a little bit more maybe.
Yeah, he targets the base, and I think he will get it just barely with those. It's going to be close.
Oh, it goes down. Flying for a second, not in the position where he had to be. Remember earlier when Crazy committed to taking down this base, suddenly Flying was in position with his army and Crazy couldn't do anything about it. But now the Protoss player, too far to the left, Crazy sees it, moves in and takes it down.
Yeah, but meanwhile he's going to trade another hatchery here for those Zealots. Some of the Zealots even escaping. Run by in the main base may affect his Tempest production though.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. I mean, there's nothing in the main base to deal with this. He needs to warp in a couple of units. Flying is losing a lot of his production if he doesn't do anything about them.
Yeah, there goes the Stargate. He targets the Stargate down directly. The Tempest was started at the last second. Unfortunately, not going to happen. He's going to lose potentially his core here too.
Yeah, he could go for a round of warp-ins, but at this point he can't really do it. He doesn't have the minerals anymore. He invested his entire bank. His entire bank is gone, Wolf.
Yeah.
Everything.
And the Lings just keep running in. He doesn't have an army that's mobile enough to deal with this.
When did he spend his bank? What for?
Well, I think he spent it mostly on those Colossi and Void Rays he made at the last second.
He didn't build any Colossi anymore. He's still on 3. This is crazy. I mean, literally. We have Flying now completely on the ropes after he lost the base to the right. Yeah, he has no mineral patches to the top right anymore. So this base to the right side was the only thing that he had, and now at the bottom left, the base for Crazy. Once again, the game completely changes, and it's Crazy who has the upper hand.
Yeah, and this time Flying is out of position to defend his base again. He actually will probably lose his Nexus. I think he's just going to go for the trade. He doesn't have a Mothership for this to recall.
You know, it was a completely fair suggestion. It was fine for Flying to take out the base to the right side and just losing a bit of his army, but losing the base, which we see once again being attacked now after being rebuilt, that's something he couldn't afford. He was just too far out of position with the rest of his units, and he never was able to warp in units to the top left to deal with the Zerglings. They are still destroying his production.
Yeah, and he's starting to run out of buildings. I mean, this is going to become a base trade for sure, but I just don't think that Flying can win it because his base is already almost gone. He has very few structures left.
That's such an awesome game here. Comeback after comeback, one fight after another, and player after player getting the upper hand in this match. Now Crazy is losing his last mining base to the bottom left. He's trying to establish himself another hatch at the right side of the map, but as you can see, at this point, there is no mining going on anymore.
Yeah. don't forget those 10 infestors that are out for Crazy right now are going to destroy this army if they get some good fungals. As you can see, the army clumps up quite a bit when it's moving.
What an amazing game. I mean, that is insane. Flying, taking a battle earlier on that he couldn't win without losing more than his opponent, but he thought it was worth it, taking down this base. Then he loses his own last mining base, and now suddenly it's blow for blow. The last few drones or probes are trying to long-distance mine here. And here come the Corruptors. He gets good storms off.
Yeah, and you can see that Tempest just do so much damage to Corruptors if they're able to see them, to spot them, and get those shots off. Now, all the free units that you see here really come into play. There are 2 observers, so he has 2 observers on the map. He probably won't have any more than that for the rest of the game.
He loses another Nexus. Those Zerglings, he should have tried to deal with them a little bit earlier. They took down the entire main base and also the natural now. That was like 15 Zerglings, maybe 16, and they took down everything. But you know,
this is so stressful for Flying right now. Both players are really in a bad spot, but I feel the advantage is way in Crazy's favor right now.
But you know, if Crazy actually loses the Corruptors, he will lose the game. He needs to take down at least the Colossi before the Corruptors go down. He splits them into groups. He knows that he can't run into Storm here. Another Oracle moving in for the reveal, and there it is.
Yeah, hits the Broodlords really this time. 1 Corruptor is revealed as well.
This is really a tense game still. Neural Parasite coming out. Oh, I love this.
That's so smart, because if he can just eliminate those Colossi... Tempest a little bit out of position here.
Yeah, 1 Tempest going down, but a lot of the Corruptors being damaged by the Storm and the Stalkers.
And some of those probes starting to go down in the middle of the map as well that he's trying to long distance mine with. This is a big problem.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a big problem. I mean, that just shows that Crazy really pays attention. A great fungal taking out the Oracle. So much for detection. Once the revelation spell is over, he will not be able to spot this
anymore. And this is so important because he won't be able to pick off those Corruptors. I can't believe he's not saving these probes anymore. I like this with the Infestors and the fungal.
An awesome fungal, and now 1 Tempest down, the second one dying, a third one being targeted. A good job by Crazy. He's moving in with all the Corruptors, taking Storm after Storm. The Broodlords doing damage with the Broodlings. This is the last battle of the game.
And Crazy has done it. He's won it. GG.
Wow. Wow, what a match. That was insane.
Welcome to game 1 of the round of 24.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
That was insane. Like, just the control we saw and the decision making from Crazy to know exactly where to be with his lings while also defending his bases.
So many comebacks in just one game. At first Crazy having the upper hand, then Flying, taking a few good engagements, having the better economy, coming back with a really good army composition. But then this one attack where he tried to take down the base to the right side of the map. And you know, I actually think that taking it out was the most important thing for him. But what he didn't realize is that at the same time, Crazy established him another 2 bases to the bottom left. So he thought that he had all the time in the world, which was not true. And Flying lost his own base as Crazy just moved in.
Yeah.
So Flying, even with the better bank that he had, suddenly fell behind. The composition was better for Crazy in the end, and the space race was crazy, especially with all those Zerglings taking down the entire main base for Flying. All his production was gone.
Yeah, once he lost the ability to just warp in Zealous to defend his base, when he lost all that bank from before, that's when he really had a problem with the Lings, because he was only relying on Zealot Warpins instead of re-walling to deal with the Zerglings, and that was his time there. At the moment when the Lings came in, he really started to eat at that production, killed a lot of probes too.
An amazing game. I can't wait for game number 2. Guys, tweet about it, Facebook about it, let people know that the 3rd round of Korea is on. Go on Reddit and tell people to tune in. Right now we are heading into game number 2. It's going to be on Red City, Crazy versus Flying. I mean, if game number 1 was any indication, we are in for a very long and exciting series between these 2 players. Such an intense match.
Yep, Red City is map number 2 as stated. We're going into it right now. This is the GSL Korea with Caldor and Wolf.
You gotta get into it!